Hello, everyone, and thank you for joining us today on our OpenCities webinar. This is the first session that we have. A second one follows this afternoon. So in our today's agenda, we have a few things. Håkan Engman, our Business Development Director, will give you a short introduction. Then Johan Göransson, our Product Management Director, will talk about our new features and everything we have under development. Irma, our product engineer, will talk about the how-to and introduce you to our newly added workflows. And then we have prepared some project examples for you. During the session, you can leave your questions on the chat and we will go through all of them in the end. I just want to let you know that, as always, you can stay connected with us. You can always send your support tickets in our newly added separate direct button of support on the top bar of our editor interface. You can always subscribe to our users newsletter. You can find the subscription link on the chat here. And as always, you can visit our blog and read our latest posts, or visit the forum where you can share and exchange your ideas, thoughts, tips, and suggestions about everything that is OpenCities related. I will hand it over to Håkan, and thank you so much.
Yes, thank you very much and welcome to the webinar. Just to set a little bit of context to the webinar and the OpenCities product. The OpenCities is our solution for urban digital twin targeted to cities, campuses, seaports, airports, etc. And helping them to address the sustainability, resilience, also business optimization and economic development in cities, of course, and the asset performance. So we are focusing on the infrastructure of these industry sectors with urban development to surface data to support the urban development process, also handle the information provided in large capital projects, etc., and to structure information, the asset infrastructure, the asset performance to support the handling and surfacing of point clouds and survey data in the operation. But also the sustainability information like environment and climate impact for flooding and other events, transportation and mobility challenges, energy transition, and public safety and security, all the different kinds of application that is served from the digital twin. So next slide, please. Next slide, please. Yes, so and when we talk to the users in the market, we see this is a clear information challenge and communication challenge. The access to information is difficult because it's stored in different departments, in different systems, and very much in silos. Also, some system requires some specialized system to actually view the data. So it's very much restricted in many operations, and it's difficult to get the overview and to actually access the information. So there is a potential risk of rework and to repurchase data unnecessarily because it's not structured in a nice way. So next slide, please. So in essence, we are making data with the urban digital twin more accessible and actionable. And here you can see some examples of kind of different user personas and different roles accessing data even to the public user and then surface information that is kind of feasible for that type of persona. So it's easy to understand and easy to access. Next slide. So when we talk about the urban digital twin, it's very much to give this a portal, a single view of the operation or the asset you're controlling, if it's a city or a campus area or a smart district or an airport or a seaport, to access critical infrastructure data, which could be either point clouds for the street or indoor mapping, so indoor scanning of a building, for example, or other types of information. To also federate data for data-driven decisions, and to implement the automated processes and workflows, as well as the cooperation with the key stakeholders. Next slide, please. So when we talk about the digital twin, it's very much to create this virtual version of the operation or the area where you want to control, not only the GIS information, the mapping information, but also the engineering information, the CAD models of the buildings, the CAD models of tunnels or bridges, and other assets, but also the associated other documentation related to the different components, the analysis, the tracking, etc., but also the more operational aspects of work order, maintenance records, and inspection records, as well as the actual status with IoT sensors and feeds, etc. And we are covering, and this is very much federated in our solution from different sources in different formats. So we are supporting kind of common market formats, including also non-Bentley solutions, of course, and IFC and other formats for the BIM models, but also capturing techniques for survey data, whether it's from drone, from mobile mapping, terrestrial, etc. The OpenCities reality extensions, they would handle that in a data agnostic way. And we also were handling the versions and updates of information, so you can actually learn from historical data and to actually use that in analysis and understanding and decision support, as well as the visualization and analysis for using AI and other capabilities. So a lot of things, and the prerequisite of actually being able to collect and federate the data from different sources. And Bentley has a very strong solution in this area. So next slide, please. So in summary, the OpenCities is and OpenCities plan is very much the single view, creating the single view of your city campus asset, the digital version of it. It streams unlimited type of data that you can connect into the digital twin, reality data, GIS data, engineering data, IoT, etc. And then also it's very much scalable and easy to use and deploy. The user interface is customized to be easy for any user to kind of consume data and find data in a nice way. And this is very much the flexibility we provide with the OpenCities platform. Next slide, please. So, and also want to highlight the OpenCities 365 is now kind of part of the Bentley portfolio of other solutions, so you can extend into the reality context handling, a very comprehensive portfolio of solutions to actually manage the data, to analyze the data, and then to share kind of point cloud imagery and other data agnostically. Also the engineering extension, all the engineering data management, all the documentation, BIM models, etc., a BIM repository, and a repository for all kinds of information, also handling the workflows of documentation and version handling, etc. And as well as the resilience, the water products and other products for kind of flooding and other things that can be sharing result into OpenCities portal, as well as the geotechnical context, the subterranean digital twin, where we have with the recent acquisition in Bentley a really comprehensive portfolio of solutions in that area of geotechnical, as well as mobility for analysis of mobility aspects. So it's very much in the center of surfacing information from different types of systems and a portfolio of solutions. So thank you very much. So I think Dorothea is going to share some examples from users.
We will hand over to you now to discuss and talk about the new features.
Thank you very much. So switching to some product news from OpenCities Planner specifically. Starting with increased or additional support for reality data, we have implemented support for 3D tile format and also web-ready scalable mesh support. 3D tiles is of course an OGC standard, so it's an open format popularized by Cesium. And web-ready scalable mesh is a Bentley format widely used in the iTwin platform. So this is now supported in Data Manager. You can upload these data types into Data Manager and process them like a log tree format, same way, same workflow, and same capabilities. And then you can federate them together with other reality models as well, of course. So they work just the same. The next step for us is to implement support to read this from Bentley Context Share. Context Share is that's the central cloud storage of reality data within the iTwin platform. So this is a huge benefit if you are using reality models in OpenCities Planner, as well as in Design Review or any other iTwin application. You will avoid data duplication this way. So. Staying in Data Manager, we have added support so you can see from what files what data and what files a source was made of, and as also which map data set or sources that this source is used in. For instance, you might use this source, it might be a feature that you use for clipping or masking in another source. This will be listed now if you go to the information section of your source. And of course, you will also see which map data set uses this source. So this helps for users who start having a lot of content within Data Manager, and they might be not be completely certain what is used where and what was it built from. This is going to help with that. One major improvement we have done is to implement ad-hoc support or an ad-hoc workflow to create iModels. And this means drag and drop support of CAD and BIM models directly into the editor. Irma will talk more in detail how this workflow actually works later. But basically this is done by connecting one or several OCP projects to a Bentley Connect project. It's still possible to have a pure OCP user experience, meaning you can configure everything from OCP. You don't have to switch to another workflow or user interface, which was the case before. But it is connected to something in the background, which is the Connect project, and that has a lot of benefits. It's still possible to mix this workflow with drag and drop with a more structured workflow where something like ProjectWise is involved, or if you are creating iModels from other iTwin applications as well. As long as the OCP project is associated with the same Connect project, you can still pull in iModels Creator from outside of OCP. This connection to a Connect project it also comes with the additional benefit of it enables centralized user management for complex OCP projects. So when we look at something like the Sydney Airport implementation, that is a single landing page for the users, but in reality, it's really the sum of 30 or 40 different OCP projects that are connected and linked through landing pages, through portals, and then through projects. And the legacy way of doing user management in OCP would mean that you would have to go into, if you want to add one single individual to all of this complete solution, you would have to go into every individual OCP project and add that person over and over again. But what this Connect Project Association enables is that we can take the user management out, the individual user management out from the individual projects, and instead bring it to the Connect project. And there you will add and remove individuals who can access things. You still have control within the individual projects, which group of people who can access them, but this is now done through role-based access. And the roles you can manage them through the OCP interface, or you can manage them in the Connect project interface. So, for instance, you can create a role that's let's call them engineers, and then in one place in the Connect project interface, you can assign who gets to be in this role, which individuals, and then you can assign in OCP which projects should the group engineers have access to. Again, Irma will go over this in more detail later. Looking at supported data types, just a summary, so we are all on the same page what we actually support. With this latest edition of 3D tiles and WebReady scalable mesh, this is the official list of data types that we support. But you should note that through the BIM and CAD pipeline is actually even larger than this, and it extends to a lot of formats, but that would have to go through a MicroStation workflow. So, but that's the current state. A quick look of things that we are developing right now. So the ad hoc workflow that we currently have in OCP, it will create an iModel every time you drag and drop a new CAD or BIM file. We will add support so you can actually assign or choose which iModel you want to update to. And that means that you can create a new version automatically, even with drag and drop. And then you can, of course, from that iModel, you can go back through the versioning. So you can back up a version. You can have 2 or 3 different versions simultaneously in OCP and have the user be able to switch between them. This helps that workflow and enables versioning of the iModels. We are adding simple draw tools in the editor. These draw tools will allow you to draw polygons and lines directly in the OCP interface. They can be clickable. They can have a details window. They can have on-click actions, the usual stuff that an on-click object supports. And these objects that you draw, you can style them, of course, with color and opacity as well. And then they are saved as objects in the project. So they're not temporary objects. These will actually be saved as a feature object directly in the object manager. It's a nice little tool to do quick markups and simple drawings directly without having the need to import shapefiles or raster image detector on the tray. Project content will also be able to be searchable. So if you have created a lot of points of interest manual, you can now enable them to be searchable, and this will search the name of the point, the label, if you have given a label, and the details window content. Same with 3D models and same with the drawn features that I just presented. You can make them searchable, and you don't have to go through Data Manager to to make them searchable. This can happen automatically with this simple checkbox. Some improvements to the TerraForm tool as well. So we have improved how the nodes are drawn. Basically, we have seen some problems where the way the nodes were presented made it difficult to use the tool, but that's been improved. And you can also now add and remove nodes from the polygon that you drew before. Finally, another thing that we are working on is a seamless integration between OpenCities Planner and another Bentley product, Orbit. This allows a synchronized side-by-side view with OpenCities Planner and Orbit. And Orbit is a tool it does a lot of things, but it manages and visualizes panoramic images like we see here, point clouds, and also reality models. And it has more advanced measurement tools and annotation tools than OCP. But with this integration, you can now get best of both worlds. It's going to be plug and play in the editor, so no scripting. You just pick the Orbit publications that you have access to. You add it to a layer button in OCP, and this is the end user experience. This I think is adding a level of data support that we don't support or didn't support in OCP standalone. It's really a synergy effect between these two products now. That's it for me, and I think I'm going to hand it over to Irma to dive deeper into the iModel and user management workflows. Thank you.
Hi, everybody. So I'm just going to share my screen. So I have a video prepared, and I'm going to go through the workflow of how to add iModels to OCP. But before we dive into that, I just wanted to shortly bring your attention to something that was mentioned in the beginning of the webinar, and it will be mentioned again in the end of the webinar, and again, I'm mentioning it now. So I'm talking about the newsletter. We would like as many of our users as possible to subscribe to our newsletter, just for the purpose. So the purpose of the newsletter would be for us to send you notifications on when we have these webinars. And since we are not allowed to send emails to you directly because of the GDPR reasons, we still want to reach out to as many users as possible when these webinars happen. So we promise not to spam you or anything, we will just use it as a platform where we can reach out to as many users as possible about whenever our webinars are going to be planned. So Dora is going to provide with a link, so please, as many as possible, it would be great to subscribe to the newsletter. Okay, that aside, now I can start with the iModels. I don't know how many of our users have started testing out the iModel workflow. Up until now, that workflow was a bit complicated because you had to go to a separate Bentley platform and then understand how the workflow there works. And we did write a very thorough documentation on that, but I'm still assuming that it was a bit too difficult for our legacy users to even explore that option. So what we did is we tried to make that workflow way simpler and make it similar to what our users are used to, which is dragging and dropping 3D models into the interface. So that's the workflow we were aiming again. And so how it works is that you again drag and draw your iModel into the interface. Now, something that Johan already explained, and I'm going to try to explain it during this workflow. What you are doing now when you are drag and dropping your iModel into the interface, you are actually not adding it directly into OCP. Instead, you are adding it into the Connect Bentley portal. So in order for you to add that iModel, that Revit file or whatever that is going to be converted into an iModel, we first have to connect this OCP project to a Connect Bentley project. And this is something that I will mention throughout this entire workflow. It will always be OCP
connecting to that Connect Bentley project. So yeah, the first step in order for this to work is for us to link these two projects together. So this is the first pop-up window that you will see when you drag and drop it. It will tell you that if your project has not been connected beforehand, you will first have to connect it. So it explains here in the dialog box, but there's also a read more hyperlink that will lead you to our web page, where in the help sections we describe how you can. Well, it basically describes the entire workflow that I will explain here today. And we have added this to a lot of settings windows. So anytime you don't know or need a refresh, you just click on the read more and link and read more about the workflow. So yes, when I clicked on the link, I got this settings window where I can choose now to create a new Bentley project, so a Connect Bentley project, or select an existing one. So what is the difference? You are now in an OCP project and you're creating a new or connecting to an existing Connect Bentley project, like I mentioned. So we have to link these two together. So you can either select an existing Connect Bentley project, and here it lists out all the projects that I am a part of. I'm assuming most of our users are only going to have one, maybe two of these projects, or you can create a new project. In case you are a first-time user, you haven't used this before, you can just click here, create new. Otherwise, you can do this entire workflow in the Connect Bentley portal. But we also have this setting here in OCP as well. Just to pause the video again. So here you first add the name, and then you select the data center location. So what this does is, I don't know if you've noticed before, but OpenCities Planner is in several data centers around the world. So right now I am in the EU. I'm reaching this out from the EU data center. We also have data centers in North America, Asia, and Australia. So depending on which time zone or data center or part of the world you're in, that's the data center you're going to select here in the dropdown. In case you select the wrong one, it's still going to work. It's just that your data is going to be read slower. It's still fetching information from another continent. Allow external users. So what does that mean? It means that your organization in Connect Bentley, so not in OCP, in that other Connect Bentley world, you also have an organization there and you have users there. So you have users that are a part of your organizations, but you can also have external ones like stakeholders that you can invite just to have viewing rights, for example. So if you want to allow those external users to view your iModels and your project, then you select here yes. And then after that, you can add a short description. This is just a reminder for yourself. If you have multiple these Connect projects, you need to distinguish them somehow, then you just add a note for yourself. So what happens now, I have linked my OpenCities Planner project to this Connect Bentley project, and that's what it says here. And it has a link again so that you can, when you click on it, access that Connect Bentley project directly. So this is what it looks like, what that Connect Bentley project looks like. And as you can see, the team members, that was only me because I just created the project and there's nobody added here. Unlinking a project, so you just click on a unlink button and it gives you this warning window that says if you are going to unlink the project, you're going to lose all your iModels. So if you have your iModels added into your object manager list under groups and layers, they will just be removed. The layers and groups will still remain though. And you can always come back and relink your projects, but you are going to have to re-add all those iModels and reconfigure them all over again. So be very mindful when unlinking a project. So again, now I'm going back to the select a project because I wanted to work on the existing one that I have to show you some user management settings. So I'm just searching for it and selecting it. So again, now it says that I am connected to that Connect Bentley project. So now I can drag and drop. So this means that when I drag and drop into OCP, what it does is it stores that iModel in the Connect Bentley. And if you scroll here I have a list. What opens automatically is a list of all the added iModels. So now I have access to all the iModels that are inside of that instance. And also it shows that something is being uploaded. Now this will take a while. It depends on what kind of 3D model if you've added. If you added a gigantic Revit file, it might take even a few hours. It all depends on the size. So I already had that iModel added from before. So here I'm actually showing what it's like, what the process is for just adding an iModel into your workspace, an existing iModel. All you have to do is click on it. And then what that does, it adds that iModel that sits in the Connect Bentley into your OpenCities Planner project. And we get this settings window. I'm guessing you have seen that before. Navigate to object, pretty standard button so far. You get the list of categories or layers and the list of models that are inside of this iModel. Just a quick reminder, you can of course have 15 Revit files in your iModel if you want to. So these will all be listed here then. Okay, so I'm showing that the iModel has been added here, toggling the transparency to see what it looks like underground. And then what I wanted to stress here is that another thing that we've changed in the previous, in the last release is that now you can select the version of your iModel directly from the iModel settings. The way we had it before, you had to re-upload your iModel and then select the version. So each time you want to change the version, you have to delete the iModel, re-add it again with a different version. So now you can just change the version directly from the settings. So it will tell you that you will lose the configuration that you've had. If you had some saved views or specific layers toggled on and on or off, those will be lost. But yeah, so that is how you change the version of your iModel. But what we still don't have support for, and that's what Johan mentioned as well, that's what is coming soon, the option for you to, once you've created your iModel in OCP, if you want to update that with a new iModel, that same one, that is something we still don't have. That's under development. We are releasing that in our next release. With our next release, you will be able to again drag and drop into that same iModel that you've created, and with that update a version. So that is coming. Okay. Save the project, of course, as many times as possible. And I think now we, yeah, so very, very important topic, deleting the iModel. There's a difference between deleting an iModel in OCP, and there's a difference between deleting the iModel in the Connect Bentley. They are both delete buttons are accessible from your OCP interface, but it's important that you understand the difference. So if you go to Object Manager, you find your iModel inside of a layer. You can click on it and you see the settings window. There's a delete button like we have with all our 3D models. And if you click on it, you will delete that iModel from your OCP project. But your iModel will still be accessible for you in the iModel settings. So here in the list where we have the iModel. So that iModel is still there and you can just re-add it by clicking on it again. But what happens if you decide to delete that iModel from the Connect Bentley? So now this is a different type of delete. If you decide to delete this here, what this will do, this will delete it from your Connect Bentley portal, which means you cannot re-add. You are going to have to drag and drop it all over again and then reprocess it to see it here on the list. But the danger here is, and what our goal here is that you as OCP users use for instance, one Connect Bentley project, and then you store all your iModels inside there, and then you use that to access that on several OCP projects. So I have one Connect Bentley project with, for instance, 3 iModels, and I use those 3 iModels in 20 OCP projects. So if I delete my iModel from here, from the Connect Bentley, that will be deleted in all those 20 projects that it's been used in. So that's just something to have in mind. You can delete it from your project. It will not affect anything else. But if you delete it from this list or from the Connect Bentley directly, it will affect all of your project that have that iModel inside of it. So these are some things to be mindful, that these things are connected, and it's not one project that's connected to it, it's multiple ones. Okay, so again, save, can never save enough. And I think now, okay, in this stage, I'm just explaining again where these settings are. So the first button was settings. This is where you link, unlink. The second was iModels. This is where you drag and drop your iModels or just reach all the iModels that are already in that Connect Bentley project listed for you. We also have the shortcut to the supported file type. So if you click on that link, you will see this documentation. It explains which file types we support. Chapter 2, the users. So this is something very, again, complex and new. And I again have to come back to what Johan mentioned already. What we wanted to do here was to create some kind of synchronization of users from OpenCities Planner to that Connect Bentley portal, not just to connect for various reasons. One of the reasons being that if a user is not added to that Connect Bentley portal, they cannot see the OCP projects. Maybe this is some information not necessarily useful for you, but this is the reason why they have to be connected. Another reason is that we wanted to, the same as with what I explained for the iModels, if you have 3 iModels in Connect Bentley, you want to use it in 20 projects. We wanted to do the same thing for the users. We wanted you to store your users in Connect Bentley, like let's say 10 users, and then use those same 10 users in 300 projects, or how, regardless of the number of projects that you have. And then you can have a centralized user management system that once you change one thing, it will reflect all the other projects. You don't have to do any additional manual work. But in order for this to work, you have to, again, be very mindful of every delete you do, it affects other projects as well. Okay, so what changed here? There's, you are aware, I'm guessing by now, about the team manager setting. And I'm guessing you noticed this dialog button changed. This does not change to in regular OCP projects that are not linked. Only when you link your OCP project to a Connect Bentley project will this team management setting change. And it changes into roles. And now roles that's a new concept to all of our users. Roles is the way that the users are tagged in the Connect Bentley. So how does this work? So roles, you can either create new ones or you can select the existing roles. And I think I'm going to switch now to the Connect Bentley so that you see what these roles look like. So let's say if I click on existing roles, I already have some roles that are defined here. And if I go to the Connect Bentley, I'm going to see how these roles look like here. So if I go to team members and click manage, this is where I manage the roles and the users in the Connect Bentley. So here you see the roles, the blue ones. So these tags or labels, those are the roles. Each one of the users can have one or multiple roles. They always default to team member when they are first added, but then you can change or remove that as you wish. You can add users or you can create new roles here in the Connect Bentley. So here you just add a name, add a description to it, and most importantly here in this settings is where you add the user or add the configuration of that role in terms of what does that role entail, what kind of access will the users with this role have, and be mindful that some of the settings that you might add here that are additional could trigger additional costs that you would have to pay for those users. This is a complex Bentley thing that we from OCP's side are not even touching in on. So if you are doing this from the Connect Bentley, if you're giving specific roles here, be mindful that you don't trigger some additional payments. But if you're doing this from the OCP side, creating a new role, then none of these settings are ever touched. So you don't have to worry about that. So yeah, I'm showing that a team member that I've seen in OCP exists as a team member in the Connect Bentley. So I'm going to select all the team members. So I'm selecting a role, and this will download all the users that have that role. So I have just be mindful if you're going to test this out. Everybody is now receiving an email invitation once I added these users that they have been invited to this project. So don't test out with stakeholders or anything like that. So now you see the list of everybody that's tagged with the team member role. And here I create a new role. Like I said, if you're doing it from OCP, you're not gonna trigger any new expenses. You're just gonna create a simple OCP role that just allows your viewers to view these iModels that you're adding to the project. So again, now I have two roles that are added, and the new one that I created has no users, as you can see. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to edit this role. I can add or remove those users directly from OCP. I don't have to go to the Connect Bentley. I am just showing what it looks like in Connect Bentley so that you understand it a bit better, but all of this workflow can be done just in OCP. Okay, so what I did here, I clicked on edit and then I clicked on invite. So now I have a list of everybody that I can invite into this role. I can choose whether they are a viewer or editor with admin rights. So these are the access rights that you've already known and used in OCP. They work the same way. So now if I'm adding this person as a viewer to my project, they can see all of my iModels, and they can see my project, but they are not editors. They cannot edit anything or break anything in the project. Or I can select the user to be invited with admin rights, and I'm guessing you already know what that means. So that's a person that has complete control over the project. Bear in mind that you cannot invite somebody that hasn't been already added to your instance. So if you are adding a user, if you want to add another user here, you want to see them on the list, you first have to add them to the instance. So have that in mind if you don't see your users for some reason here on the list. Okay, so I am choosing a viewer access for myself and then clicking invite. And then, so I'm going to show what the workflow is to delete a user. So again, I'm showing that we have two, again, roles that contain users. And if I click to edit a role, I can then either invite more users or manage the users that are already there. So now I can change the user from an editor with admin rights into a viewer, or I can delete that user from here. So the same as I said with the iModels, this is an important thing to understand. If you are going to remove this user from this role, this means that this user will be removed from the Connect Bentley as well. And if you have created 300 projects and you have added stakeholders into 300 of your OCP projects that connect to that one Connect Bentley project, and I enter one of the OCP projects and remove anybody from the role stakeholders, that person will be removed in all of the 300 projects. That is kind of why we are doing this. So you can add a user to your stakeholder role, and they will automatically be added to 300 OCP projects without you having to enter 300 OCP projects and doing that manually. This will all happen automatically. So that's an advantage, but it could be very destructive if you forget that you are removing this user not from only this OCP project, but from all of them. So just bear that in mind when you're adding or removing users. So now I'm showing you how, yeah, I added a stakeholder user and then it shows on the Connect Bentley. Now here I remove it from OCP. I go back to the Connect Bentley. I reload the page. And as you can see, now I don't have that tag anymore. So now I'm not a stakeholder. So I'm not a stakeholder in any of those 300 projects again. Okay. Yeah, this impact part is just a tag for me to do all this speech about being mindful. We are still don't have that many feedback from our users. Our users started testing from the last time we released this. We're hoping now with the drag and drop, this will become 50 times easier and more user-friendly, and hopefully our users will start using this more and more. And we are very appreciative of your feedback. So anything you have as a feedback of this workflow, please let us know if it works well or not, if it's intuitive. Yes, please reach out to us and tell us, let us know. And I think with that, I'm done. And Dora, I think you have some examples to show to our users.
Yes, just give me a second so I can share my screen and we can go over them. So to begin with, we have prepared a few project examples, showcases for today that I would like to show you. The first project is the TransPennine route upgrade, TRU for short. This is an aspiring rail project in UK, and it is part of a bigger digital carbon hub project that the customer is preparing. The iTwin team reached out our OpenCities team so we can help them with the customer's primary goal, which was to identify if models with different snake grids, low distortion coordinate systems could be referenced together. The challenge here was that we wanted to check if multiple highly detailed iModels from 3 different coordinate systems can be federated into one unified scene. During the test, we managed to bring over 32 large iModels into one scene, one OpenCities project scene, and that shows that OpenCities can support large-scale projects. The project now consists of 14 highly detailed iModels from one Connect project, but we have the availability to connect it with more Connect projects and thus more to federate more iModels. So this is a good example for us and the capabilities that OpenCities offer to large-scale projects. Let me just move to the next one. The next project that I want to talk about is Minstad from Gothenburg City here in Sweden. The project was under development for a few months and now it has officially been launched. The reason why I want to share that with you is that it was one of our first projects that used the landing page and portal structure. So it is used as a gateway with different themes for different projects, and they also involved users and citizens in one of them. This is an example of how citizens and visitors to the page can have an easy navigation and exploration of different themes and project contents. So you can get the link from here and visit the project yourself. The next project that I want to talk about is Hobart City project in Tanzania. This is an example of how an OpenCities user started without a clear goal in mind, but along the way they started exploring and implemented the capabilities that we offer. The user started with a reality mesh model from the city, and along the way they experimented, and now they have connected to a feature server and they bring live data from cameras installed all around the city for monitoring and surveillance, and also for parking spaces that they can bring live data and check capacity of them. Next one is Sydney Airport project. Sydney is one of our digital twin campus users, and this is a project that serves as a solution that shows how a feature-rich solution using complex data is. The project is being handed over to 30 internal users so far and will eventually roll over to around 600. In the project so far, there has been an integration of different types of data. The user has asset and infrastructure information from spatial databases. They have reality meshes and point clouds. There has been an integration of engineering and BIM data, and also integration of, for example, financial data from an Oracle database. We have been working on a use case video with them, and I wanted to share that with you so you can see how advanced this is. Sorry about that.
Dora, we can't hear the sound of the video.
No?
So I think you need to reshare it with sound.
Just give me a second, please. Let's go over the video.
The Sydney Airport OpenCities digital twin, known as Maps at SID, is a gateway to historical and real-time data from multiple sources relating to our physical assets, enabling our people to make informed decisions, facilitate predictive outcomes, improve operational and asset efficiency, mitigate risks, and underpin safety. The landing page enables a diverse range of users to navigate their way around the airport, finding information specific to their department and role, whether that information be within buildings, terminals, across the airport precinct, or details on projects and developments. The Check My Development site is to aid in the transparency of projects and future developments across the entire airport precinct. Project managers have the ability to overlay flood studies, environmentally significant areas, and heritage sites that may impact their development. Operational information, such as the Airspace Obstacle Limitation Surface, the OLS, and noise contours, can also be turned on. The location of the in-ground services network is essential. The ability to turn on or off individual services creates an overall picture of the impact a development or project will have on the existing infrastructure, essentially creating a dial before you dig scenario. Historical images can also be displayed using the slide timescale. Prior to the implementation of Check My Development, project managers would utilise our digital print room, downloading multiple static PDFs and piecemeal them together to tell the story, often followed by requests to the spatial team to create an overlay view of the proposal. The ability to view all projects and developments airport-wide negates duplication or overlapping of projects. With the aid of OpenCities and Check My Development site, project managers have the ability to choose their own adventure, saving both time and resources.
So I hope you
Sydney Airport.
I hope you find this as interesting as we did. And moving on to the last project that we want to share with you today is the Port Authority project in New South Wales in Australia. This project also follows the landing page and themes and portal structure. Port Authority has been handling all the major ports in the region, and one of the reasons that they wanted to use OpenCities is because they understood that there was a critical necessity for sustainable management of their ports. Among the ports that they have been handling is Newcastle Seaport, which is one of the world's largest coal export ports, and it has a major economic benefit not only to the city and the region, but the whole area. So asset management was implemented through OpenCities and the port authorities, so how they can use asset data for different sectors of the port, and thus this facilitated them in critical decision making and also to improve the performance of the assets on the port. So that were the examples that we wanted to share with you today. And what I would like to ask you is that for our next webinar in June, we would like you to nominate your own OpenCities project. You can submit your projects to us. You can send them on my email address that you can see here. And we can present that during the webinar, or you can take your own time and talk about your own project and share with us anything that it is significant about that. And to conclude, I would like to ask you to send in your feedback. I will attach here on the chat a link with a very short questionnaire that we would like you to submit your suggestions on the webinar here, because as always, your feedback is really valuable to us. So I would like to thank you for your time and attention today. And if you have any questions, please, you can just leave them here and we can go through them together for the few remaining minutes. So Yuan and Irma, I think that all of us can take any of the questions.
Yeah, okay, we have a couple of questions already. The first one is if it's possible to add more models to one iModel with a drag and drop workflow, and that is possible. You can drag and drop several files into the same iModel. They, however, have to be georeferenced individually, so it's not possible to kind of point to a positioning DVG or something like that, which was also part of the questions. But that is planned future updates of this functionality, so you will be able to pick a kind of a georeferencing file, but not possible today. Another question is if it's possible to do completely vertical cuts with the updated TerraForm tool, because it's difficult to, well, the borders of a TerraForm and OCP are not very sharp. No, it's not going to be a major change in how the tool works or the result that the tool produces with these updates that we have done. The way that the TerraForm tool works is that it kind of needs it doesn't introduce new vertices to the 3D mesh and then pushes that geometry down. It uses whatever, density of geometry that exists, and that can produce different results. Because if the vertices and the geometry is very dense, then you can create or get to something that's close to sharp results, like sharp edges, because there's a lot of geometry that the tool can kind of push down or elevate. But if it's sparse geometry or sparse vertices, then the result will not be very good, because there's not enough geometry to kind of create something that looks like a straight edge. And the reason that the tool works this way is because introducing geometry in real time, that would be a potential performance issue. So it would be difficult to get a performance visualization unless you have like a dedicated GPU. So long answer to a short question. The result will look the same, but it will be easier to get there with the updated tool.
Thank you, Yuan. If you have any more questions, please submit them now so we can answer to them. Otherwise, you can always submit questions through our support, the new tab that we have, or just reach us through our email addresses.
And I just want to add one thing to the presentation that we saw, the how-to from Irma. I mean, Irma went over all the details in the workflow, so it might appear as if it's very complicated, but it's really not. There's really just a few steps that you have to do. So if we try to summarize that workflow, what you have to do is you have to link to a Connect project, then you can drag and drop iModels, and then you can configure them, and then you can add the user roles that you want to have access to whatever you put together. So that's basically the workflow, but of course there's details that we saw. So try it out. I think it's a great improvement.
Great. So I think that we can wrap it up here. Thank you everyone for your time. As I mentioned before, you will find a link for your feedback here. It's really short, it's like 3 questions, so we will really value that. And also you will be available to get the recording after this session. So thank you once again and have a nice day.
Thank you all. Bye-bye.
Thank you.